Let's talk about Eyes Open.
Yes.
Well shot video.
Thank you. Bunny bread.
Yeah. What is okay? So I'm up to speed. What is the connect? Is it just refreshed or?
Yeah, Jazz Refreshed is
Wait.
putting out the label. Is it a label and a night?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the night okay?
The one at Mau Mau.
Right. Cool. So when I was looking, I was thinking, I know the name.
Yeah. It's a beautiful name.
Yeah. Amazing. So first, let's talk about the single.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you could go to that whole thing of what's understood doesn't need to be explained, but what conceptually are you pinpointing in that record?
In a world where sometimes you can't even interact with the people you know, social media. Yeah, that's just straight away. In a world where sometimes you can't even interact with the people you know. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, let's rock slow and see where we go. I get lost in my mind sometimes trying to figure out how we're going to find our way. Take me back to the time when people said you're never going to shine. No way, you're not from the right country, you don't have the right accent. Skin and bone, or you're too fat, don't have the right skin tone. Who produced that? Apparently you got to dumb down to appeal to the kiddies. That's condescending. To me, to them, but you see where I come from, that story's never ending. God, it's all in there. It's all in the song. So I'm talking about music in the UK and the fact that we're told if you want to make music that's going to sell, that you need to make it easy and make it soft or make it, not too political or not too serious. And it's like, really? You tell Bob Dylan that? Really? You told John Lennon that? Don't think so. You let them make music. And I think we need to have the ability to make music. Keeping my eyes open is a message for everybody. It's not just a political thing. It's like, look, we're in a world where we have Trump. But before that, we had Obama. Come on. What the hell? Look at the two. I don't think I've ever seen one after another that level of complete opposite. It makes me wonder about the world and traveling and young people that are not traveling now who may not ever be able to travel because of, restrictions and stuff like that. So keeping your eyes open, even me using uno, dos, tres, cuatro, 1, 2, 3, 4 is just me trying to show you that there's a world out there without preaching. So to have the French rapper at the end do the chorus is just kind of hinting like, look, these are the possibilities.
Yeah, if we unite and if we can see more than what's ahead of our nose. Like I said, there's a well-shot video, and I like how it's going through different scenes and different environments.
The aim of the video, the theme of the video is Lufa. Yeah. So in regards to the type of the look and the feel, and me being dressed a particular way, like a journalist stroke investigator, and just acting rather than just spitting the words, just trying to I'm always trying to do something different. I'm always trying to break ground. I won't necessarily make noise about breaking the ground, but I will try to break ground.
Well, okay, so do you ever censor yourself for music? Because my perception will be is that if I had a conversation with Ty, no cameras on, there's a raw reality.
Oh, most
which
definitely.
You'll feel comfortable to speak.
Yeah.
And then, not that it's sanitized, but there's a thing where he understands that to just exist with no wahala and no additional eyes for what I may know, I'm going to give you guys this much and read between the lines.
Oh, most of my people know the real me is very raw. The real me is the real me, if I'm having a conversation and it's no hold bars and we can just be real and just talk unapologetically regardless of who's in the room, I keep it real. But unfortunately, I don't live in a world where you're allowed to do that for a living. And my mama and my parents taught me that. Their parents taught me that, look, we go to work, we might clean dishes and tables for people. Do you know what I mean? They might, act a certain way or, spit on the floor and expect us to clean it. We had to do that to feed you. What are you going to have to do? Because I didn't grow you just to think that you can just walk into anybody and start pushing them in the chest. You've got to know, you've got to know how to play the game, and not just play the game. You've got to know there's a time to while out and there's a time to be conservative. And I think as if you don't mind me saying, as a black person living in the UK, we wear masks every day. Every day we wear masks.
We go home.
You do not hear the truth of how we feel living in this society, living in this system, living within this law, living with the kind of filters that are there. You can't talk the truth. You can't always talk the truth. So you always have to find a way, somewhere where you can do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel ashamed about the fact that I have to sanitize or politically correct myself when I'm rapping, because I realize I'm at work. This is a job. This is not, you can't just roll up to work, no bathing, no skin on, no scream, no ironing of clothes, and expect to stay long at work. It won't happen.
Yeah. When you so when you go into that whole mindset of I'm coming to work, I'm here to deliver my art. Who's your soundboard as to creatively, like, maybe we should do that, maybe we shouldn't do that, like, or do you even have that, or you just?
It's me.
So how do you censor yourself then?
So
and maybe that's the wrong word. Maybe
censor's not the censor's probably the wrong word. What I do is
how do you critique yourself? How do you critique your art then?
Well, I critique the work from two places. I'm critiquing it from a production perspective. I'm the producer of the music you hear.
You're producing all the
music.
Okay.
So I'm the producer. Then I'm also the rapper, the writer. But the thing is, my production is co-production. So I do the main production and I produce with someone else who helps me develop. Drew Hawley, big up to you, right? But on the writing aspect, the funny thing is I've grown up in a world where people only know you for your ability to rap or your ability to perform really wickedly and get everybody hype. So after a while, when you're trying to work out how to do what you're doing, you have to make a decision based upon your characteristic. And my characteristic, again, goes back to what we explained earlier, is I don't have a problem with not following the crowd. I don't have a problem with not fitting in. I don't have a problem with withdrawing myself. I don't have a problem with looking for kudos or cosigns from any kind of circle. So when it comes to editing and critiquing, I'm only dealing with what I'm comfortable with. And then, and then it's out there.
What just popped into my head now is that, you have accolades, which, and I was just thinking, I was like, when people think of Ty, like something, what did the old school generation, quote unquote, think of Ty? And then what would the new school generation think of Ty?
It's hard to answer that question.
Yeah, but it's something else. It's just as we was talking, I was thinking.
So the new school might have heard of me because other people talk about it. Some people will sing. There's no greater feeling than walking into a room of expecting people who heard this guy might be good, but then you have to prove it. And then there's that look. I see it all the time. There's young people looking or vibing where people are like, oh my, damn. And I get that a lot. Like I did Jazz Cafe I did it with Blue Lab Beats with Namali and David. And it was interesting because when I came on to perform, I saw a bunch of girls that were really there to big up the other rapper who was probably a relative or their girlfriends or whatever. And then I'm performing and I'm kind of making them do stuff. And they're looking at each other like, I think I'm gonna, this is good. He's getting me. And the beauty of that is because I come from an old school or older school, there's some things that have been lost in translation that only I can bring to the table. And because I'm such a stingy man, I haven't let all the goodies out of the bag and taught everybody, yeah, this is what you need to do. Do you know you need to do this? Oh, this is what you're not doing. I've learned, because I'm a big brother. So I'm always, if I feel a vibe where we can talk on a real level, then if we're in the studio or whatever we're doing, I'll tell you the truth. Like if I feel like, there's something you're not doing, I'm gonna let you know. Because you're my, because I've got a bundle of younger cousins and we're like that. But this generation and this time, sometimes you kind of can sense that people don't want to hear advice from you, or where's your gold chaps? Where's your car outside? You ain't got money. If you ain't got money, you can't tell me nothing. So when I get that vibe, I just keep my mouth shut. But the truth of it is, the first time I stepped on stage was 1987. I've been on stage and in demand from 1987 till now. That's something that most folks can't say. People are our album's about to drop. People still want to get that now. 87 to now. Most artists in the UK can't say that. Most hip hop artists can't say that. Most grime artists can't say that. So maybe there's something that Uncle Ty has got for you that I'll tell you if you're cool. If you're not cool.
Man, we cool though, man.
Yeah, we cool.
We cool. So
be yourself.
We gotta talk.
Yeah. We gotta talk. Be yourself. You gotta be yourself. You gotta be yourself.
All right, so I'm gonna quickly digress into a little bit like of a theory, right?
Mm-hmm. Great interview, by the way.
Thank you, sir. I've just uploaded a song. It's gone onto YouTube. It's got a lot of views.
Mm-hmm.
As of yet, I don't know my worth. My management structure is going to be my boy because I trust him. We get a phone call, and A&R, a major label, wants to bring us in. We go in, we have a meeting. The offer is single deal, maybe plus an option, but single deal, 60K. First time I've seen this amount of money. Boom. Now, in that type of scenario, which happens quite a lot.
Yes, it does.
What are the things that potentially the artist coming in should be aware of before any transactional deal is done? Because even at that point, your lawyers may have a better relationship with the labels than they do with you, because they actually do the business together. But as we're seeing an influx of a lot of our young, gifted brothers and sisters going into this machine, and usually when they come out on the other end, it's with a bitter taste. At that point, what should they be trying to?
So let me get this right. After saying to you that I'm not giving the tools out, you have now created a great question, which allows me to.
I thought it was about performance tools.
Oh, performance tools.
I thought you were talking about performance tools when you were saying.
I'm talking about life. Everything. So to answer, I would say one thing from that story that I'm aware of is when an artist has a great recording, but doesn't have a background of actually getting on stage, you got to fix that. That person's got to fix that quickly, because part of your repertoire, no matter whether you have a liquid song that goes crazy, right, is at some point you're going to have to be on stage. Like Michael Dapper, I don't know how, he's got one song. You've got to have 5 to perform, and you've got to know how to perform. So I would say that go and find someone who can teach you, or who can improve your stage performance and stage awareness. Set up, get a 60K. Build your team up. Social media wise, let someone else do that if someone else can pay for it, and then let that build how it builds. Spend your time, get back in the studio. You want to get some more music. Invest the money. Try to buy things that will allow you to be more independent. Don't just buy a car. Try and spend some money in that respect, and just be aware. The thing is, now an artist has YouTube. YouTube is an absolute dictionary of hope for anybody, because you can basically go and check certain things. You can go and type in Kendrick Lamar in Alaska, if something might come up. Blah, 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 blah. You can watch interviews, watch what people are doing, study your craft. You have to study your craft. You can't, Jimi Hendrix didn't just pick up a guitar and become famous. He spent time with it. If you're in a position where you've jumped the hurdles a little bit, if you get the money, jump back a little bit, do some press-ups, if you can.
Any business gems you got for us?
Business-wise, I would say learn about publishing, learn about, if your boy's gonna manage you, then he's got to learn. You got to make sure
he's got to know more than you.
Yeah, he's gonna know more than you, but he's got to be taught. He's got to be taught, or he's got to make sure that you're taught what you're getting into. Because you're not just you're not putting someone in there just to get through the door. You're putting someone in there to secure your future. Therefore, you need to know what's up and what he's doing. My best advice I can say to you is, as an artist, do not sit back and let everyone else do the work for you. Don't do that. So if you need to create a relationship with the DJs that you're listening to, you do that. You tweet them. You send them an email. You pick up the phone. Yeah, your management does certain things, but don't get the idea that management are here to save everything. You're not making buka dollars right now. So do the work, because the same people you meet on the way up are the same people you meet on the way down. And recently I've met a whole bunch of people on my way back up that I helped on my way up originally, that are like, they're far further up. So they're like, oh, come. But when you're a bit of a pleb to some of the people on your way up, it can affect you. One of the easiest things I can say is this: regardless of whether you're ego-driven or whatever, try and be nice to people. Try.
Doesn't cost a thing.
It does.
Really?
It does cost something to be nice. Because if you're an evil person, you don't want to be nice. Yeah. Try to be nice. Yeah. Try, like, you know what I mean? Try to be nice. And most importantly, try and respect women in the music business.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Very important, because there isn't a more ride or die person in the music industry for you than the women in the music industry. So if you're trying to mishandle all of them or talk inappropriately to all of them, you're actually creating a smaller world for yourself. So try to be respectful of women in the music industry. I think it's very important. That's my biggest point I can say.
Do you know, I've away from this, we've been doing we did a content over sexual harassment, sexual assault, and it was with women. And what you start to realize is that, one, there's a part where men don't understand what is actually constituting the violation, and then you understand that on the other end, that nearly every woman goes through that. And it goes back to the part we were talking about before, where it's only when you become a father of a daughter that you're thinking, God forbid, that this is a promised outcome. Within the music industry, like, there's no rules. I've been on video shoots, and you're looking at, like, the girls who are there, whether they're video girls or not, they're there to work. But some of the guys may think that's a buffet, like, oh yeah, like, and then the entourage, the smoke, wherever they are, they're thinking, yeah, like, we're just gonna. Women, and you know, I've spoken to a lot of women about this whole thing, and I'm so glad that you said that, because on my own, my voice isn't loud enough, but I'm very clear to let the women know where I stand with this thing.
It's very important.
We're not here to violate. You're going to get treated. You're not going to have that pass on my name.
I'm not trying to say that I'm a priest or a deacon, or that that I haven't had fun. I'm not saying that. Definitely not saying that. But the point I'm making, more importantly, is if you're trying to get on in this business, right, be aware that you're going to notice in all elements of music that you're dealing with, there'll be women that are involved that make it smooth, that work really hard. Do not piss them off, because they make your life easier in this music business. There isn't one section of the music industry that I can honestly say doesn't have some woman in the background or women in the background that make things easy. I'm saying be aware of that. It's not just a boys' club. Be aware of that. And also try and encourage the younger women to come up in the game. It's just better for us. It's better. It's better. I can't tell you what it feels like to know that you've got trusted associates in the music industry that are female, that are there that work hard, that deserve to be respected and deserve to be appreciated. My number one tip for all of these young artists is pay attention to the women in the industry that are working for you and respect them. You can be a funny guy elsewhere, but as far as your business, do not mess around in there.
Amazing thing. You said you're working on a new. Is the album complete?
The album's coming out March the 2nd.
Okay. Because again, I'm a bit behind on it.
I'm gonna send links to you today.
Okay, cool, perfect. How do you see the roll-up now? Like, do you have to think like, that must go? Not that you're old school, but it's like once you've completed the record, you've done your job. But now it's almost like, Ty, come on, have you got your hashtag sorted out?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like every time I put a record out, I have to deal with this part of making sure I get the music to people and all that sort of thing. And the amount of things that change, the amount of DJs that have moved on or can no longer play your music or are no longer playing music or have moved up or don't return your calls anymore, don't return your emails anymore. All of that is crazy. Also, what's nice about it for me is I'm navigating this differently. So I've let, from the PR to the plugger, I've let them know that you're pushing a record, but please know you're pushing a producer MC record. People know Ty as just Ty, the person that can speak, or the person that's a rapper, but I'm involved in hip hop. So I'm involved, whether it's involved in teaching in hip hop Shakespeare with Akala, or whether it's
shout out to Akala.
Shout out to Akala. That's my big little brother that I've got so much respect for, Akala. Or whether it's being involved in different facets or talks or debates in hip hop, or whether it's involved in being in the studio and creating links. Like I helped a couple people. So I helped Aloe Black. So the Aloe Black, I Need a Dollar, I had something to do with connecting him with the people and him eventually making that record. I didn't make any money from it, but for the culture of what we do, links have to be made. So I think a lot of times people are very kind of single solo, this is how it is. And it's like, no, sometimes you have to do this to get there. So with the Aloe Black record, I introduced him to, there's a night that we do in Berlin called Live Demo. And I used to perform there. Well, I still do perform there, but then I became one of the people that suggests which artists are booked. So over the years, I suggested Estelle, Umpo, Bahamadia, and Aloe Black.
I remember Umpo.
Yeah. Umpo's like, that's my people.
She's married to the drummer?
Yeah, to the drummer, Josh McKenzie. Now, I put his name up for a couple of years ago. I put his name up for to get booked, and then he emailed me back. He's like, Ty, man, respect, love for the thingy, but I don't know, these people are not paying no money, because what it is, they fly you in, they don't pay you a fee, but they look after you, feed you, you perform, you get multiple streams of interest because you're with the Cool Squad in Germany.
Right.
And the idea with Live Demo was you'd book an artist from England, France, Germany, and the States. So the night would always have people from all these places.
Right.
So I was in charge of booking the person from the States for this one. And I said to him, do it. It's a connection thing. You're with, he was with Stone's Throw at the time, label. And I said to him, do it. You might get some links, it'll just push you further. Lo and behold, 2 years later, I get a call. I mean, I seen the American Dollar thing blowing up, and I'm like, wow, my friend has actually really gone clear. He books me to support him somewhere, like, because we were on tour as well. And then he sits me down and he says, the reason why I'm here is because of you. When that thing that I wasn't going to do, you convinced me over email to do it. I flew over, I did it. The girl that picked me up at the airport is the girl that signed me. So I'm like, I've got loads of stories like that. But my point is, if you're an artist and you're involved in the culture, get involved. Like, don't just look on it like, how can I gain? How can your peers, how can your peeps gain? Because it comes back to you. I mean, it's you can be selfish and be, you know, single-minded, or you can be focused on just inputting as much good music and energy into the art form and see what happens. I also did a similar thing for Taylor McFerrin, who is Bobby McFerrin's son.
Okay, you have to. Sorry,
Bobby McFerrin is
turn off your
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Bobby McFerrin is the guy that did. He's the guy that does the beatboxing. He's the old guy, but he sings. Don't worry, be happy, and he beatboxes, and he's very percussive. He's famous for that. His son is Taylor McFerrin, and I met him in New York. He was a fan of my stuff when I went over there to do shows, and I took his music to Giles Peterson and Benji B, and I said, yo, this is some good stuff. And then eventually, Benji called me and said, I need that song. I'm about to play. I'm about to play on radio, so I had to send him the song, and I had to name the song, so I didn't have the CD with me, so I called it Broken Vibes, and then when he played it, it went worldwide, and from that point onwards, I had to change the song title that it was originally to Broken Vibes, which is the song I gave it because I was doing it from my laptop, and that's it. And it's, you know, plenty moments like that.
Because what I'm happy about, the album's out next month. So I think probably what we could do is then we could probably have almost like a deep dive into the album and the project. But so here's something that like just triggered me. You've done a lot, right? And you've been given, right? Do you think that that's your character, that, you know, I'm willing to help people, but at a point, how do you sustain yourself enough that you're not feeling like victimized for being by default the good guy?
Yeah.
And everyone just comes and cherry picks, and I'm almost waiting on potentially if they do good, because not every time is someone going to come back and do good after you've done
Absolutely.
good for them. How does that work for you then?
It doesn't. You have to, like I said, back to the guy over here on his own. I'm not looking for it, but I will say this. It's hard making music. This path that I chose, I paid certain prices for it. I don't have kids at the moment. I'm not married. I don't have a wife. I don't have a girlfriend, you know, hoping that she gets married. None of that. All of that's been pursuing the road of making music and trying to make this puzzle work. So I have to be optimistic that things will sort themselves out. But I also have to realize that sometimes your path in life is a particular path and you just have to go with it. And if you get people paying you back, great. If you don't, it's unfortunate. But at the same time, you know there's a time when you know when to stop being nice for people. I definitely know when to stop being nice. That's not a problem for me either. So it's just one of those things where you kind of, I've seen, the thing about doing the music, right, coming from the abandonment earlier to traveling around the world where people pay for your flights, people pay for your hotel, people pay to see you perform, people are happy to see you, people are getting married or meeting and having babies at your gigs. This is what I've heard this in Switzerland. It's a blessing. And it's such a blessing that it's so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than, and this is what I want people to know, especially younger artists that are doing their thing, that might be listening to what I'm doing thinking, well, I haven't heard of him. When you do music and you get to a point where you're having an absolute severe effect on people's lives across the world, people are coming back to you saying, I listened to this music and thank you for being you, and because of you I was able to do this, or I was able to become an artist, or blah, blah, blah. When you get all of that, it makes it all worth it. It really does. I'm blessed.
Do you know what? You are. But
nice.
No.
Nice.
No, but do you know, because when you said that whole thing, right? So for example, that this lifestyle, that I'm newly in a relationship, right? And that thing is like you have two hands. You know, you can't do both, right?
Can't. So you gotta trick yourself into doing both.
Right. But as you said, so along your journey, because as you said, like, because your legacy, sometimes people say that your legacy is your children, right? Sometimes, but maybe, and who knows how it's going, maybe it's the art. Maybe the art is the legacy for the world.
Well,
Who
I'm
knows?
cheating because I have 15 godchildren.
Okay, that's amazing.
So I got love.
And you're still, yeah.
And I'm in there. I got love. I got relationships. They phone me. You know what I mean? It's cool.
But that side there, does it, I mean...
It's not the same.
But I mean, for you then, like, because I looked at it like, is a win if the L's are still there? Like, do you see, like, I would have like actually like had my own. I would have loved to have had, if possibly, more over here with my a wife, a family, a child.
I can literally see people that I let go that got married and have kids. Ooh. I can see them. They're not that far. They're in this world. They're either in this country or other. I can see them. I can see if I'd have stuck on a certain path and just hold it down. That person, I can see it. But what I'm trying to say to you is, it's a blessing. It's like this is my life work. That's why the album's called a work of heart. This is my life work. This is what I was put on the planet to do. It's one of the things I was put on the planet to do. You was put on the planet to manage a camera. You might have been put on the planet to be creative. You mean this is the thing. And the thing is, when I say that, it sounds a little bit kind of like blah blah blah. But I put it like this: I've had signs. I've had plenty of signs where it's like, wow. Look at this. Or I've had moments on stage in places where, thousands of people going crazy because I'm there. That's humbling. It's so humbling that you come back to a country that doesn't really always acknowledge your greatness or that you have genius. And you have to be like, once again, it goes back to here. Because I have a particular background and because of a particular experience when I was younger, I can handle the fact that these people over here are not acknowledging how great I am, and these people are. I can handle that.
Just in rounding up, but just following up for that. You're not saying that you're more comfortable with it, but you know what the space feels like if people aren't acknowledging, as you're saying, like your art form, because you've had a greater form of abandonment.
I know what the space feels like. I know what it feels like not to be cool. I know what it feels like to be hated for where I come from. I know what it feels like to be loved for where I come from. I know what it feels like to be loved for what I do. I know what it feels like to be despised because of who I am doing what I'm doing. I've got all of those feelings. I came up in a time, the grime generation, in a beautiful time, because when you're doing grime, you have an audience that is in front of you that believe what you're doing is good. I came from a time where people was absolutely like, you are not Method Man. Why are you on stage? Why are you rapping to me? I've had to sit and wait for that same audience to suddenly fall in love with the idea that someone from the same country could be good. I had to sit and wait for that to happen.